The monument stood 300 feet tall, made of pure white stone that caught the light of three suns. Commander Rax looked at the crowd below. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy had come to hear him speak. They expected a hero's speech. They expected him to celebrate victory. They had no idea what he was about to say. Rax's scales rippled with anxiety. His four arms trembled slightly as he gripped the podium. He had fought in 37 battles. He had faced death more times than he could count. But standing here, about to tell the truth, terrified him more than any weapon. "I am afraid," he began. The crowd went silent. "I have been afraid for 10 years, not of the Empire, not of war. I am afraid of humans." Confused whispers spread through the audience. Rax continued before he lost his courage. "Let me tell you about the first time I met one of them. It was before the war, before any of us knew what was coming. The Galactic Council sent me to Earth as part of a survey mission. Humans had just invented faster-than-light travel. We thought they were primitives playing with technology they barely understood." Rax remembered that day clearly. The human ship had been small and ugly compared to vessels. It looked like someone had welded spare parts together and hoped for the best. When it docked with his flagship, Rax had felt almost embarrassed for them. Their captain came aboard. His name was Sung. He was young for a commander, I thought. Humans age differently than we do, but he seemed barely more than a child. He smiled when he met me, a big, warm smile that showed his teeth. The alien commander paused. Even now, that memory made his blood run cold. I did not know then that when humans show their teeth, they are displaying weapons. Every human smile is a reminder that they are predators, but Sung seemed friendly. He spoke our language perfectly. He offered me tea, a human drink made from boiled plant leaves. We sat in my conference room and I asked him the standard questions. Rax remembered feeling superior during that meeting. They had ruled space for 2,000 years. They had fought wars that humans could not imagine. This small, primitive species was nothing to worry about. I asked Captain Sung about Earth's military capabilities. It was routine. We ask every species. Most brag about their weapons, trying to seem impressive. But Sung just looked at me with those calm eyes and said something I will never forget. The commander's voice dropped lower. He said, "We hope you never have to find out." Then he smiled again and took a sip of his tea. That was all, no boasting, no details, just those 8 words and a smile. Rax had laughed at the time. He thought the human was being dramatic. The survey team completed their work and left Earth behind. In their report, they noted that humans were a peaceful species, focused on art and science. They seemed too emotional to be good warriors. They cried at sad stories. They kept animals as companions. They wrote poetry about flowers. "We were so stupid," Rax said. "We saw their emotions and thought they were weak. We did not understand that humans feel everything intensely. Love, joy, sorrow, and rage, especially rage." 3 months after the survey mission, the Empire invaded human space. They had destroyed 17 civilizations. Their military was the most feared in the galaxy. They had weapons that could crack planets open. Their soldiers were bred for war, genetically enhanced to feel no mercy or fear. They attacked 3 human colonies on the same day. We monitored the situation from a distance. The entire galaxy watched. We all expected humanity to fall within weeks, maybe days. The fleet outnumbered human ships 8-1. It should have been a massacre. Rax remembered watching the first battle reports with his officers. They had placed bets on how long humans would last. The longest estimate was 2 months. Most thought less than 3 weeks. The war lasted 5 years. 5 years. The Empire, which had conquered a third of the galaxy, could not defeat one small species on the edge of space. The crowd stirred. Many of them remembered those days, the shock, the disbelief. I volunteered to observe the conflict. I wanted to understand how humans were surviving. My government agreed. They were curious too, so I took my ship to the border regions and watched. The first thing Rax noticed was how humans fought. Every battle seemed to follow the same pattern. They would attack with overwhelming force. Human ships would fight back with everything they had. When a human vessel took critical damage, it did not retreat. It did not surrender. They rammed enemy ships, on purpose. A captain would evacuate most of the crew, then pilot the damaged vessel directly into a dreadnought at maximum speed. The explosion would destroy both ships. Rax's voice shook slightly. This happened over and over. They could not understand it. Neither could we. Why would anyone throw away their life like that? It seemed wasteful, insane. But then we realized the truth. For every human ship that sacrificed itself, 3 or 4 vessels were destroyed. Humans were winning through mathematics. They were using their own lives as weapons. But the space battles were not what truly frightened Rax. It was what happened on the ground. I watched the siege of Station, a human outpost with a civilian population of 50,000. They sent 20,000 soldiers to capture it. The humans had 3,000 defenders. The battle lasted 6 days. By the end, there were no human defenders left alive, but there were no soldiers left either. The entire invasion force was wiped out. A human sergeant named Wu Jin held one corridor for 6 hours. Just him and 12 soldiers. They killed 300. When they ran out of bullets, they used knives. When the knives broke, they used pieces of metal torn from the walls. They fought until they could not lift their arms anymore. Rax closed his primary eyes. Before he died, Sergeant Wu Jin sent a message to the commander. He said, "You should have brought more soldiers." Then he activated the corridor's emergency decompression and blew himself and the remaining into space. The alien commander looked out at the crowd. That was when I began to understand. Humans do not fight to win. They fight until there is nothing left to fight with. And that, more than any weapon, is why they terrify me. Rax watched his audience carefully. Some looked uncomfortable, others seemed confused. A few appeared angry. Good. They needed to feel uncomfortable. They needed to understand. "Let me tell you about Lieutenant Yang," the commander continued. "He commanded a human destroyer called the Morning Star. I watched his ship during the Battle of Station from my observation post. They had surrounded it. The Morning Star was damaged badly. Its engines were failing. Its weapons were offline. Any reasonable commander would have surrendered or abandoned ship." The alien remembered that moment with perfect clarity. He had expected the human crew to evacuate. Standard military protocol across all species. When a ship was dead, you saved the crew. They were valuable. Ships could be replaced. Lieutenant Yang did not evacuate his crew. He ordered them to leave, and most did. But he stayed, along with 5 volunteers. They repaired the engines just enough to get the ship moving again. Then Yang aimed his destroyer at the largest vessel in the formation. Rax's voice became hollow. He accelerated to maximum speed. They tried to shoot him down, but damaged ships are small targets. The Morning Star hit the dreadnought at 40% light speed. Both ships disappeared, just gone. Nothing left but radiation and debris. The explosion took out 2 more ships nearby. That single act destroyed vessels that carried 10,000 enemy soldiers. 6 people traded their lives for 10,000 enemies. The mathematics was brutal. I contacted the human fleet commander after that battle. I asked why Lieutenant Yang did that. The commander looked at me like I had asked why water was wet. She said, "Because it needed to be done, because he could, because 6 lives for 10,000 is a good trade." She said it without emotion, just cold calculation. But it was not just the ship captains who thought this way. Every human seemed to have the same terrifying mindset. Commander Hayone was a carrier captain. Her ship took heavy damage during an ambush. The carrier was listing. Fire spread through 3 decks. She ordered a full evacuation. 1,700 crew members escaped in pods. Then Hayone stayed behind with a skeleton crew to pilot the ship. Rax remembered watching this on his monitors. The carrier was clearly doomed. It should have been abandoned to drift in space. Instead, Hayone had fired up the damaged engines one last time. She flew that burning carrier straight into the middle of the fleet. The reactor went critical just as she reached them. The explosion was visible from my ship, 3 million kilometers away. Hayone and 40 volunteers destroyed 6 vessels. The pattern repeated in every battle. Humans turned their failures into weapons. They turned defeat into victory through sacrifice. It should not have worked. No species in galactic history fought this way. But the space battles were only part of it. The ground war was worse, so much worse. Rax had volunteered to observe a ground assault. They were attacking a human mining facility on an ice moon. The facility had no military value. It was just civilian miners extracting minerals. But it was human territory, so they defended it. Sergeant Wu Jin commanded 38 soldiers defending the main facility entrance. They sent 500 shock troops. The corridor was narrow, which helped the defenders, but it should not have mattered. 500 should have overwhelmed them in minutes. The battle lasted 6 hours. Rax watched the entire thing from the observation feed. It haunted him still. Humans fought like cornered animals. They set traps. They used welding torches as weapons. When their guns ran out of ammunition, they switched to backup weapons. When those ran out, they threw grenades. When the grenades were gone, they used knives. When the knives broke, they used pieces of metal, chunks of rock, anything they could hold. Rax paused, his voice breaking slightly. They kept coming. Their shock troops are trained to show no mercy. They feel no fear. They are enhanced with drugs that block pain, but humans have something they do not have. Humans have spite. They have hatred. They have the ability to keep fighting when their bodies should have stopped. Sergeant Wu Jin's last stand became legend among the human forces. When only 3 defenders remained alive, out of ammunition and wounded, the commander offered them surrender, medical treatment, prisoner status. Wu Jin refused. He sent back a message, "Come take us." They charged. The last 3 humans killed 7 more before they fell, but Wu Jin had one final trick. He had rigged explosives to the facility's fuel storage. When he died, the timer ran out. The explosion killed all 160 soldiers still in the facility. The crowd was silent now. Rax could see the horror on their faces. A civilian woman named Mi-sun was in that facility. She was a mining engineer, not a soldier. When they broke through the outer defenses, she could have fled. There were escape tunnels. She could have lived. Instead, she stayed at her post. She transmitted mining data until the last second. The thought she was sending military information. They rushed to stop her. Rax's scales turned darker, a sign of deep emotion in his species. Mi-sun was sending mineral surveys, useless information, but it made them come to her location. When they arrived, she detonated the mining charges around her. She took 33 with her, a civilian. She was not a trained soldier. She was someone who dug minerals out of rock for a living, and she still chose to fight. This was what terrified Rax most. It was not the soldiers. Soldiers were supposed to fight and die. Every species had warriors, but humans turned everyone into a warrior. Farmers became soldiers. Teachers became soldiers. Engineers became soldiers. I realized something during those battles. Every human is a potential weapon, every single one. They do not have a warrior class. They do not have soldiers and civilians. They just have humans, and every human can decide to become lethal at any moment. Rax described another battle he witnessed. A human medical ship had been disabled by raiders. Medical ships were supposed to be neutral. Every species respected that law, but they did not care about laws. The medical ship had 200 patients, sick and wounded humans. There were 30 doctors and nurses. When they boarded, expecting easy prisoners, the humans fought back. The doctors used surgical tools as weapons. The nurses threw medical equipment. Even the patients who could walk joined the fight. It was chaos. The one eventually, but 70 of their soldiers died taking a defenseless medical ship. The commander executed the survivors. All of them. He was furious. He could not understand why they fought. I was monitoring the transmission. I heard him screaming, "Why did you not surrender? We would have let you live." A human doctor, bleeding and dying, had laughed. Rax still heard that laugh in his nightmares. The doctor said, "Because you boarded our ship, that made it a battlefield, and humans do not surrender battlefields." Then she died. Rax looked at the crowd. That is when I understood the truth. Humans do not have civilians in war. They only have humans who have not started fighting yet. Every one of them is waiting for the moment to become dangerous. They smile at you. They offer you tea. They seem peaceful and kind. But inside every human is a warrior waiting to wake up. The alien commander's voice dropped to almost a whisper. And once they wake up, they do not stop. They do not quit. They do not surrender. They just keep coming until they are dead, and sometimes not even death stops them. The wind picked up around the monument, carrying the scent of alien flowers. Rax's secondary eyes scanned the crowd, watching for reactions. Some beings had started to leave. He did not blame them. The truth was heavy. The Empire grew frustrated, Rax continued. They were losing too many ships, too many soldiers, so they did what they always did when facing resistance. They sent in the hunter packs. A ripple of fear went through the crowd. Everyone knew about the hunter packs. They were legendary, terrifying. They had broken 16 species' will to fight. The packs specialized in psychological warfare. They did not just kill enemies. They hunted them, stalked them, made them feel helpless and terrified before the final strike. The hunter packs were the best weapon. Their ships could become nearly invisible. They used advanced tracking technology. They studied their targets, learned their patterns, and struck when the enemy felt safest. They left no survivors, no evidence. Ships and crews just disappeared. Rax remembered reading the reports. The High Command had been confident. The hunter packs had never failed. They sent 50 of their best teams into human-controlled space, into the asteroid belt regions where human mining operations were scattered. The first human ship disappeared on schedule, then another. They were pleased. They thought the humans would panic soon. 3 more ships vanished. The pattern was working perfectly. The alien commander's scales shifted color, showing dark amusement. Then something changed. A hunter pack stopped reporting. Search teams found their ship 3 weeks later. It was intact, empty. The crew was gone, no bodies, no signs of struggle, just gone. Another hunter pack disappeared. Then another. The sent investigation teams. Those teams found nothing. The hunter packs were simply vanishing into the asteroid fields. The commander demanded answers. They reviewed all the data. all the tracking information. That is when they discovered the truth. The humans were hunting the hunters. A human captain named commanded a stealth corvette called Ghost of Terra. She had grown up on a human colony world, hunting animals in forests. She understood tracking. She understood patience. Captain studied the patterns. She watched how they moved, how they chose targets. She learned their tactics better than they knew themselves. Then she started hunting them. His method was simple and terrifying. She did not patrol. She did not search. She picked a location and waited, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. She and her crew sat in complete silence among the asteroids, all systems on minimal power, practically invisible. When a hunter pack came near, would follow them. Not attack, just follow. She stayed far enough away to remain undetected. She watched them hunt human ships. She studied each team's specific tactics. Then, when they finished their hunt and relaxed, struck. The attacks were surgical. Crews specialized in boarding actions. They would attach to the hull, cut through, and disappear inside before alarms could sound. What they did to those crews, I do not know. The human military classified those details. But the hunter pack ships were found later drifting, empty. And the survivors who eventually talked said the same thing. They saw nothing, heard nothing. Their crew members just disappeared one by one into the shadows of their own ships. Rax paused, letting that sink in. Captain operated for 6 months. She destroyed 18 hunter packs. 18. The stopped sending hunter teams into the asteroid belts. Their warriors refused the assignments. These were soldiers bred for war, enhanced with technology, trained to feel no fear. And they were terrified of one human woman and her crew. But was not the only one. Commander commanded a small squadron of human vessels that operated similarly. He taught other crews the same tactics. Called it persistent pursuit. Humans are persistence hunters by evolution. On their home world, they hunted animals by following them for days until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Applied this to space warfare. The commander's methods were patient and methodical. He would identify a commander, learn everything about them, and then hunt that specific person across multiple star systems. Hunted one fleet commander for 7 months. Every time they set up a base, found them. Every time they tried to resupply, he was there. He never attacked directly. He just appeared, watching, waiting, vanishing before they could respond. The psychological impact was devastating. The commander became paranoid, started making mistakes. His crew lost confidence in him. Finally, the commander cracked. He abandoned his post and fled. He was found later, alone on a small moon, hiding. He kept saying the same thing over and over. They are always there, always watching. They never stop coming. Rax had interviewed that commander personally. The broken warrior had looked at him with hollow eyes and said something that gave Rax nightmares. He said, "We hunt to kill. They hunt because they are hunters. It is what they are. You cannot negotiate with a hunter. You cannot frighten a hunter. You can only be prey." This pattern repeated across the war. Humans did not just fight. They adapted. They learned. They became better at war with each battle. A human major named Jinwoo demonstrated this during the Battle of Ceres. His battalion was tasked with eliminating a ground force that had occupied civilian tunnels. They had fortified positions. They had hostages. A direct assault would have cost thousands of human lives. Jinwoo did not assault. He sealed the tunnel exits and waited. For 18 days, Jinwoo's soldiers surrounded those tunnels. They did not attack. They just waited. They had supplies for 30 days, so they felt safe. But they did not understand human psychology. Jinwoo had his soldiers make noise, constantly. They banged on the tunnel walls, they played loud music, they broadcasted messages, they never let the rest. Sleep deprivation is a human tactic. They understand it because they have used it on themselves throughout their history. Humans can function on very little sleep when necessary. The cannot. After 18 days, the soldiers began making mistakes. They became paranoid. They started fighting among themselves. When they finally tried to break out, they were exhausted and disorganized. Jinwu's fresh troops eliminated them with minimal casualties. The High Command reviewed the battle data. One of their generals said something that spread through their entire military. We are fighting a species that has been warring with itself for 10,000 years. We have fought for 300. They have more experience killing their own kind than we have total experience with war. Rax let that statement hang in the air. That is what they finally understood. That is what terrified them. Humans did not learn war from conquering other species. They learned it from each other. They perfected it on themselves. Every tactic, every strategy, every horrible weapon they used against they had first used on other humans. The alien commander's voice grew quiet. Earth's history is a history of war. Constant, endless war. Humans have fought each other with stones, with metal, with chemicals, with nuclear fire. They have starved each other, burned each other, hunted each other through every terrain on their planet. They know every way to kill because they have tried them all on themselves. Rax looked directly at the crowd. When they invaded human space, they thought they were fighting primitives, but they were fighting a species that had already survived 10,000 years of warfare. They had never fought anyone like that. Neither had we. Humans are not warriors who happen to be human. They are humans who happen to be at war, and that makes them the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The crowd had thinned. Many could not handle what they were hearing. Rax understood. He had lived through it and still had trouble believing it was real. The war reached its 4th year, Rax continued. The Empire was losing, not quickly but steadily. They could not maintain their momentum. Every victory cost too much. Every battle took too long, so they made a decision. They would end it with one massive attack. The Grand Armada gathered at the edge of human space. 3,000 ships, the largest military force ever assembled by one species. Their target was Earth itself. They would bypass all human defenses and strike at the heart. The entire galaxy watched. This would decide the war. If Earth fell, humanity would collapse. We all believed this. Even I believed it. The Galactic Council sent requests to join the defense. Rax's government offered ships and soldiers. Other species did the same. They had come to respect humanity's resistance. Some had even started to like humans. Admiral Sung commanded Earth's defense fleet. The same Sung I met years before. He was older now. His hair had turned gray, but his eyes were the same. Calm, calculating, terrifying. The War Council met on Earth's orbital station. Rax attended as an observer and advisor. Representatives from 12 species gathered to plan the defense. Everyone agreed it looked hopeless. Earth's fleet numbered 800 ships. With Allied forces, maybe 1,200 total, still badly outnumbered. Admiral Sung listened to all our suggestions. We proposed defensive formations, layered shields, retreat strategies if the battle went badly, standard military doctrine. Sung nodded politely at everything. Then he presented his own plan. Rax still remembered the silence that followed. Nobody spoke for a full minute. Sung proposed using Saturn's moon Titan as a weapon. He wanted to hollow it out, fill it with antimatter charges, attach engines to it, and fly it directly into the fleet. The entire council rejected the idea immediately. It was insane. Moons were not weapons. The engineering alone was impossible. The timing would never work. They would simply move out of the way. Sung thanked us for our input. Then he said, "We will proceed with the Titan plan," just like that. He did not argue, did not debate. He simply stated it was happening. Rax had been furious. He told Sung it was suicide, that it would fail, that it would waste resources they needed for real defense. Sung looked at me with those calm eyes and said, "Commander Rax, your concern is noted, but this is a human decision about human territory. We will do what we believe is necessary." Then he smiled. That smile. Over the next 3 months, Rax watched humans work. They evacuated Titan completely. Millions of civilians relocated. Then engineers moved in. They carved tunnels through the moon's interior. They installed thousands of antimatter charges. They built massive engines on the surface. The engineering was brilliant. Insane, but brilliant. A human captain named Sara led the project. She was an engineer before the war, built civilian stations. Now she was building the largest weapon ever created. The antimatter alone was terrifying, enough to destroy a small planet, all concentrated in one moon. One miscalculation would vaporize everything within 10 million kilometers. But the truly terrifying part was the volunteer list. Sung asked for 200 people to pilot Titan on its final flight. He needed crew to maintain the engines, navigate, and detonate the charges at the perfect moment. He received 7,000 applications. Rax had read some of those applications. Teachers, artists, parents, people with families waiting for them, all volunteering to die. Captain Sara selected her crew carefully. She chose engineers who understood the systems, pilots who could handle the difficult navigation, soldiers who would not hesitate when the moment came. 200 humans, 200 people who said goodbye to everyone they loved and climbed aboard a moon converted into a bomb. The Grand Armada arrived on schedule. They came through the outer system slowly, confidently. Their ships filled the scanners. It looked like a metal wall approaching Earth. Then Titan started moving. They detected it immediately, but they did not understand what they were seeing. A moon with engines. It seemed like desperation, maybe a distraction. Their commander ordered a few ships to investigate but kept the main fleet advancing. Sara and her crew pushed Titan to its maximum speed. The moon accelerated slowly at first, but moons have tremendous mass. Once moving, they are nearly impossible to stop. The ships sent to intercept realized too late what was happening. They fired on Titan, but what do you do against a moon? Shooting it does nothing. They tried to push it off course with gravity weapons, but Titan's engines kept correcting. Captain Sara transmitted constantly during the final approach. She sent messages to Earth, to her family, to the fleet. Rax had listened to those transmissions from his observation post. Sara sang. She and her crew sang human songs as they flew toward death. Old songs, war songs, songs about home. They sounded happy, excited even, like they were going to a celebration instead of their execution. The fleet commander finally understood the danger. He ordered the armada to scatter, but 3,000 ships do not move quickly when clustered together. They crashed into each other trying to escape. Formations broke apart. Some ships collided. Titan entered the center of the formation, still accelerating. Captain Sara's final transmission was, "For Earth, for humanity, for everyone who comes after us." Then she detonated the antimatter. Rax had been 3 million kilometers away. The explosion still shook his ship. The blast vaporized Titan instantly. The shockwave spread outward at nearly light speed. 1,200 ships were destroyed in the first second. Another 600 were crippled in the next few seconds. The Grand Armada lost 40% of its strength in one moment. But humanity did not celebrate. Rax watched President Ah address the galaxy in the aftermath. She stood at a podium on Earth, tears streaming down her face. President Ah read every name, all 200 volunteers. She spoke slowly and clearly, making sure everyone heard. It took 30 minutes. Then she looked at the camera and said something that made my blood freeze. Rax's voice shook slightly. She said, "We have 19 more moons, we have 8 planets, we have thousands of asteroids. If you continue this war, we will use them all. The question is, do you have 19 more fleets?" They did not have 19 more fleets. Nobody did. The threat was clear. Humans would throw everything they had at the enemy, moons, planets, stars if they could. The Empire surrendered 3 weeks later, not because they could not win. They probably still could have, but the cost was too high. They realized humans would never stop. There was no level of destruction that would make them quit. The humans would fight until Earth itself was destroyed, and they would smile while doing it. Rax paused, gathering his thoughts. But the Titan strategy was not the only unthinkable thing humans did. Dr. Haywan developed biological weapons that could kill soldiers, not chemical weapons, not poisons, diseases, specifically engineered to attack biology. The galactic community had banned biological warfare centuries ago. Every species agreed it was too dangerous, too uncontrollable, but humans had researched it anyway, just in case. Haywan's diseases never left human ships. Humans used them in boarding actions only. They would infect captured vessels, let the disease spread, then leave. The ship would be dead within hours. But the disease could not survive in space, so it never spread beyond that one ship. It was horrifying but controlled. Humans had created a nightmare weapon but used it precisely. They proved they could unleash horrors but chose not to. That restraint was almost as frightening as the weapon itself. They also created computer viruses that drove AI insane. Information attacks that made enemy soldiers doubt their own memories. Psychological warfare that made commanders paranoid. Every dark tactic humans had ever invented throughout their history, they brought to space. And then there was the protocol, Dr. Haywan's most disturbing creation. Humans can be clinically dead for up to 4 minutes before brain damage occurs. Haywan created a system to exploit this. Human infiltrators would take drugs to slow their metabolism. They would be declared dead by all medical scans, would bring them aboard as bodies to study. Then, after a few minutes, the humans would wake up, inside enemy ships. The success rate was terrifying. 12 infiltration missions, 12 successful sabotages. When I learned about this protocol, I asked Sung if he was not afraid of actually dying. He shrugged and said, "We are all dying already. Some of us just die faster." Then he smiled. Rax looked at the crowd. That is what I mean when I say humans terrify me. They turned death itself into a weapon. They used their own mortality as a tactical advantage. What do you do against an enemy like that? How do you negotiate with someone who treats their own death as just another tool? The 3 suns began to set. Long shadows stretched across the monument grounds. Rax looked at the remaining crowd. Maybe a third of the original audience stayed, the ones who needed to hear this most. The war ended 10 years ago, Rax said quietly. The surrendered, treaties were signed, peace came to the galaxy. Everyone celebrated, everyone except me, because I realized something terrifying. Wartime humans were frightening. Peacetime humans are worse. The crowd murmured. Some looked confused. How could peace be worse than war? Let me explain. During the war, we knew what humans were. Warriors, fighters, killers. We could understand that. Every species has warriors. We knew their purpose. We knew their methods. They were predictable in their unpredictability. But peace changed everything. Ambassador Sung led the human diplomatic corps at the peace negotiations. The same man, 50 years older now, still with that calm smile. He offered the extremely generous terms. Reparations, yes, but reasonable ones. No occupied territories. No forced disarmament beyond standard levels. He even offered humanitarian aid. Rax had attended those negotiations. He watched the representatives struggle to understand. They had expected revenge, punishment. Humans had lost millions of people. Earth itself had been by orbital bombardments. Yet here was Sung offering kindness. The ambassador asked Sung directly, "Why are you being so generous? We killed your people. We destroyed your colonies. Why help us now?" And Sung said something I will never forget. The alien commander's scales darkened with remembered fear. He said, "Because we understand that today's enemy might be tomorrow's friend, because we believe in second chances, because holding grudges is exhausting and we have better things to do." Then he smiled and offered the ambassador tea. The same tea he had offered Rax decades ago, the same smile. They accepted the terms. They had no choice, but they were confused, grateful but confused. I understood why. I was confused too, because I saw what Sung was really doing. Humans were not being kind out of mercy. They were being strategic. Within 2 years, human teachers were in schools. Human doctors were in hospitals. Human engineers were building infrastructure. Humans were everywhere, not as conquerors, as helpers, as friends. Dr. Mi-sun, the niece of the engineer who died at station, became famous for her medical advancements. She developed cures for diseases that had plagued multiple species for centuries. She won 6 Galactic Science Awards. Mi-sun worked with researchers. She taught them human medical techniques. She saved thousands of lives, the same species that killed her aunt, and she did it with a smile. Was it forgiveness, or was it something else? Engineer Yang designed the new galactic trade station at the edge of human space. It is the largest station in the galaxy, a marvel of engineering. Humans and 20 other species all use it daily. Yang made sure humans were essential to its operation. The pattern repeated everywhere. Humans integrated themselves into every level of galactic society, not through force, through competence, through making themselves necessary. Colonel Wu Jin, who had survived impossible battles during the war, now trains coalition forces at the Galactic Military Academy. He teaches our soldiers human tactics, human strategies. He is making us all think like humans. Rax paused, letting that sink in. Do you understand what that means? Humans are teaching us how to fight the way they fight. They are spreading their methods throughout the galaxy, and we are grateful for it. We think they are helping us. But maybe they were preparing something else. Maybe they were making sure that if another war came, everyone would fight using human methods, using human logic, thinking like humans. I spoke with Colonel last year. She retired from military service and now teaches advanced tactics at the War College. I asked her why she teaches potential enemies how to fight. She looked at me with those calm eyes and said something that kept me awake for weeks. Rax's voice dropped almost to a whisper. She said, "Commander, humans have been fighting each other for 10,000 years. Your war lasted 5. We barely got started. If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would have done it already. We are not interested in conquest. We are interested in partnership. But partnerships require understanding. So we teach you how we think, how we fight, how we win. That way, if you ever turn against us, at least it will be an interesting challenge." The alien commander let that statement hang in the air. Then she smiled, that same human smile, and she said, "Besides, teaching you our basic tactics does not mean you can use them like we can. You did not evolve as hunters. You did not spend 10,000 years at war with yourselves. You cannot think like a human because you are not human. So really, we are not worried." That was when Rax understood the true horror. Humans were not afraid of sharing their secrets because they knew nobody else could use them effectively. They were that confident. President Ah stepped down 3 years ago. The human who threatened to throw 19 moons at the now runs a charity that helps war refugees. She travels to devastated worlds and organizes reconstruction. She has personally helped rebuild 4 colonies. Was it guilt, redemption, or was it soft power, making sure the galaxy loved humans, making sure nobody wanted to fight them again? Captain Sora's sister became a prominent artist. She creates memorials for war dead across the galaxy, not just human dead, all dead. She built a monument on the honoring their fallen soldiers, the same soldiers her sister killed. Every action seemed generous, kind, but underneath, Rax saw the calculation. Humans were weaving themselves into the fabric of galactic civilization, making themselves indispensable, making themselves loved. And it works. The galaxy adores humans now. We celebrate human holidays. We eat human food. We listen to human music. Our children learn human languages in school. Humans are everywhere, and we invited them in. Rax looked directly at the crowd. That is what terrifies me. Not that humans fought so well, not that they won, but that they convinced us that we won too. They made us grateful for their presence. They made us dependent on them, and they did it without firing a single shot. The alien commander's voice grew stronger. During the war, I knew the enemy. I could see them coming. I could prepare defenses. But now humans are my colleagues, my friends, my neighbors. How do I defend against that? How do I prepare for something that might not even be a threat? Or maybe it was not a threat at all. Maybe humans really were peaceful. Maybe they really did just want friendship and cooperation. But I cannot forget what I saw during the war. I cannot forget the smile on Captain Sora's face as she flew a moon into enemy ships. I cannot forget President Ah calmly threatening to throw 19 more moons. I cannot forget Colonel hunting warriors through asteroid fields. I cannot forget any of it. Rax's forearms spread wide. So I am left with a question that haunts me every day. Are humans the generous, kind, forgiving species they appear to be? Or are they the calculating, patient, terrifying warriors I saw during the war? Or are they both? Can they be both? The alien commander's scales shifted through several colors, showing the depth of his emotional turmoil. I spoke with Ambassador Sung one final time a month ago. He is 93 years old now, barely able to walk, but his eyes are still the same, still calm, still calculating. I asked him directly, "Were you always planning this peace? Was the war just preparation?" Rax remembered that conversation with perfect clarity. They had sat in Sung's office overlooking Earth. The old human had offered him tea. Again. Sung thought for a long time before answering. Then he said, "Commander, humans do not plan centuries ahead like some species. We are too chaotic for that. But we do understand that violence is expensive. War costs resources, lives, time. Peace is more efficient. So yes, we fought the war to win the peace. We fought so we would not have to fight again. We made ourselves so terrifying in war that nobody would want to face us. And we make ourselves so valuable in peace that nobody would want to lose us. The old human had smiled then, that same smile. He said, "We are not conquerors, Commander, we are survivors. We have survived ice ages, plagues, famines, and 10,000 years of killing each other. We survived by adapting, by learning, by becoming whatever we needed to be. Right now, the galaxy needs partners and friends, so that is what we are. But if the galaxy needed warriors again," he shrugged, "we can be that too. We have had a lot of practice." Rax fell silent for a moment, collecting his thoughts for the conclusion. As I left his office, I passed a young human ensign in the hallway, Sung's great-granddaughter. She serves in the unified fleet. She smiled at me. That same smile I saw 50 years ago on her great-grandfather's face. The alien commander's voice became very quiet. And I realized that I will never know. I will never know if that smile is genuine friendship or patient calculation. I will never know if humans are truly at peace or just waiting. I will never know if they saved us from or if they saved us for something else. Rax looked at the setting suns. What I do know is this. Humanity taught us that death is not the end of usefulness. They taught us that every tool can be a weapon. They taught us that kindness and calculation are not opposites. They taught us to fear peace as much as war. The alien commander turned back to face the crowd one final time. "So yes, humans terrify me. They terrified me when they fought. They terrify me now that they help, because I understand now what makes them truly dangerous. It is not their weapons, not their tactics, not their willingness to die." Rax's scales turned completely dark. What makes humans dangerous is that you never know which human you are talking to. The warrior, the teacher, the friend, the threat. They are all the same being. Every human contains all these possibilities at once, and they can switch between them seamlessly. The alien commander's final words echoed across the monument grounds. The galaxy celebrates humanity as its saviors, as its partners, as its friends. And maybe that is true. Maybe humans really are our greatest allies, but I remember what Colonel told me. I remember her smile when she said, "You cannot think like a human because you are not human." Rax looked at the monument behind him, dedicated to all who died in the war. "So I confess to you all, I am afraid. Not because humans are evil, but because they are human. And after 50 years of knowing them, I still do not understand what that truly means. I only know that it should terrify us all." The alien commander stepped down from the podium. The crowd sat in silence. Nobody applauded. Nobody spoke. They just sat there thinking about what they had heard. In the distance, a human ship lifted off from Earth's surface, heading to the stars. Rax watched it go and wondered, as he always did, what humans were really planning. And he wondered if he would ever stop being afraid.